All right, welcome to episode 3. Week, whatever it is.
3, it's 5.
Episode 5. Let's start it over. Bam! Episode 5. I'll give a quick summary. We're in a different setup now. We're not 100% where we need to be.
Yeah, honestly, I'm very excited about this. I think we were talking about it in the last podcast, and we got the warehouse, and this is a part of it. This is the studio. We actually have, walls covered with foam to make our voices not so echoey. We got all sorts of decorations going on.
We spent a long week getting this somewhat ready for today because that was the goal. It's not finished. We're going to decorate behind
We're going to
them.
get shelving. We're going to get more posters.
And we got a lot of soundproofing. We got a little bit more left. We actually had a whole wall built, which was nice, and then painted and everything. That way it's easier. It's better to hear, better to edit, better to film.
Way
more
better
comfortable.
Than actually having this be a setup, and not just a let's plop up some cameras in the middle of the store real quick after hours.
Yeah, that was a pain. But, I mean, that's one of the store happenings this last 2 weeks, whatever we want to say. There's been a lot more, and I can say my belief is there's going to be way more in the future, too. But one of the biggest ones, and I'm going to start with that because why not, the Japanese card packs.
Oh, yeah. No, they've been doing,
very, very well. I've heard from a lot of people that we're the only store in the area that's carrying them currently.
I have heard, they currently, we are the only people stocking Japanese ones, and everyone else is going for English ones, and then even pricing up the English ones when they have them, which I get because we can't even afford them at market value. Nope. But it just sucks for if you're looking for packs right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair and to be honest, when we got the Japanese packs is when we submitted another application to a vendor and still haven't heard anything. That's been 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow.
Yep.
But they're a big hit. And like you guys said, card stores around here don't have them, which I don't know why not. And just a disclaimer for all of our viewers and customers and everything, we are going to keep them for as long as we can keep them cheap. So right now that market is very volatile, especially the American market. Japanese is getting there. We've had an internal discussion that we don't want to charge a premium, essentially, I guess.
No, we want to keep it, like Zack was saying, we want to keep it as low as we possibly can for as long as we possibly can. So, we don't, certain sets we were looking at, the Japanese equivalent of...
Sorry.
We were looking at the Japanese equivalent of Prismatic Evolutions and, 151, stuff like that. Problem is, we'd probably have to be charging, almost $10, $15 a pack.
At least.
At the very minimum, and we would rather not have to do that, even though I know that there would be people out there that would just go for it no matter what.
And they've said that to us.
Yeah, exactly. That is not something that we just have heard it's something that we've had people say. I had somebody on the phone today that was like, if you got any... 151 stuff, even if it's at a premium, I will take it. And I was, kind of stunned, kind of not, just because I've been seeing it all over social media. The craze over Pokemon cards as of late, I feel like it's hit not an all-time high, but it's just kind of hit a bit of a fever pitch at the moment.
I would say with cards, it might be an all-time high, at least for regular people buying them. The market for the high-end cards when Logan Paul and whatnot were into it and they were opening the old cards and everything, that was at all-time high a while ago, but the current going out buying packs, yes, I think that's at all-time high. At least it feels like it.
Yeah. Then again, my TikTok For You page is going to be different than other people's, and I've only just been looking up all those videos of the scalpers or just people just going absolutely wild over them. The lines coming out from all sorts of different stores.
No, yeah, I've definitely seen that. Mainly there's the scalpers part of it.
Now, one thing I have heard, I don't know how much, take it with a grain of salt, is supposedly I've seen online that there are some Discord servers or just groups online that are working to artificially inflate the price and essentially do what I've seen some people refer to it as a pump and dump, so that way then it just... get it to its all-time, get this card where it's at up to, take it from $70 to $8 or $60 to $80, and once it's there, then just crash it.
It's the same thing as like meme coins, or the same thing as like when they did it to like GameStop stock. It's the people online trying to make money, and so they get a group of people of some fairly large size to all buy all the stock, and then artificially bring up the price, and then sell it. And that is 100% happening from what I've seen online. I mean, I haven't experienced that much besides like seeing cards just spike in value randomly, like the Persian and stuff like that. Though I think that one has legitimately settled at like $60 now.
Yes, I believe it has, because I know, because people weren't able to get a hold of Prismatic Evolution, so then they hit up Shrouded Fables, and then I think right now Chaldean Fates is the new Shrouded Fables.
Gotcha. It's weird how that happens, where like they go after the older ones, and it's weird. Do you think that wouldn't go in such a, like, going after one, then the next, then the next? You think it would be random? But
no.
It's, people, I mean, I'm guilty of that with video games all the time, where that's the thing I know better. One thing's popular, and then you focus on that, and then something else becomes popular, like, oh crap, now I gotta go with this. It's the FOMO of it, and it's the
100%
the knowledge of it. Like, wait, there's this cool of a card or this cool of a game out there on the system. I need it now.
So I guess that's the biggest thing with the cards. More to come. I mean, there's really more to come, literally.
Oh yeah, there's also I saw on the website from one of our distributors, there's another set that's coming out after Heatwave Arena. I think it's Team Rocket Returns, or not Team Rocket Returns. It's something.
I thought Team Rocket was
related.
the next one. I didn't know that there was one in between, because everyone's been talking about the Team Rocket one recently.
Maybe I was looking at. Maybe it wasn't on the Japanese site. Maybe it was on TCG Player. But I know that there's
a new
another
set
one coming again.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, yeah, everyone's talked about how Battle Partners, but it's not Battle Journey Together.
Journey Together.
That one's like the sequel to Gym Challenge, and then that the new one coming out, the Team Rocket one, is the sequel to Team Rocket. Yeah. I don't know what the Team Rocket one.
I think actually it was Team Rocket Returns was the second one, and then this is going to be a sequel to that. It's Team Rocket something.
It might be. I thought it was just Team Rocket, and then this is Team Rocket Returns. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll have the Japanese one as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, and then hopefully eventually we'll get American, but
no, we're trying.
We're trying.
I would even just be happy with Magic cards packs, at least at this point. It's something to have some, because this is all new territory for us, and it's good territory, and it's going to be the first to say we're going to be able to expand more.
It's been extremely beneficial to us as a whole.
So is like a lot of stuff recently with GameStop and all that. It's just been a lot of stuff going on since I think November or whatever, whenever that happened.
Oh, that was
GameStop was
January.
January.
Oh, GameStop was January? Okay, yeah. Yep. I thought it was a while ago now.
I mean, we could go back to that real quick since you mentioned it, like GameStop closing and how many new systems we get on a regular basis. And
we have so many PS4s coming through now. And actually, previously we talked about Xbox Ones being an issue where we weren't getting many working ones, and we have like 5 right now that are working.
Honestly, we've been on a roll of PS4s not working. Brendan got a disc stuck in one of them.
Yeah, I have
that was
engine ones.
Oh yeah, no, that was that one where the disc got stuck in it. That was a nightmare. It was my fault, to be quite honest with you.
Shove it in a disc.
It was filthy. I wish we took a picture of how dirty that one was.
It was sadly, it was probably the filthiest one I have seen.
I had to tweezer out the disc to get it back. Walking Dead Season 2, because that's a quick install game. I had to take tweezers and pull it right out.
And it still works.
It still works. It works fine. The other game that got stuck in the Xbox One, it was one that was already in there when we got it in, and I was like, "Oh, what's this game that's stuck in here?" I pulled that out, and it was not good on the tweezers definitely ate into it, but it was like a Madden game, so.
Oh, who cares about Madden?
Exactly. Yeah. It wasn't anything crazy.
No, but I mean, on that note too, we're like 2 podcasts behind now on the third-party controllers, so we can give a quick synopsis.
Oh yeah, because the last time we were talking about it, the one that's currently out, Megamind just came out. We're about like 3 weeks for each podcast in terms of how long it takes. We were talking about third party. They arrived. We don't have any here with us right now.
No, that's fine. I'll give my recap on the PS5 version.
Xbox One.
Yeah, PS5. Had no adaptive triggers. had a touchpad that didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
and the rumble sounds like I'm gonna try to do my best on the mic. Zzz, 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 zzz. It was terrible. So
Like your phone vibration.
yeah, even worse probably, honestly. So the PS5 ones are a bust. Probably gonna pull those off the shelves because we were trying to sell them at just cost, and I don't even feel comfortable doing that. But
It might just be like, I don't know, our Rage controllers for... Maybe we'll play like Dark Souls and...
like a Let's Play
and
controller,
Let's
we don't
Play
care.
and then just chuck it on the wall every time you die.
Dude, I would love to do that.
That would be
also.
actually kind of fun. We'll think about
This
it.
this could be our rage room.
No,
I
we
know.
spent way too much time in
There's
this
too much
room.
stuff here.
Too much money in this
Yeah.
room. We're not even done filling it.
Yeah.
Money isn't happiness.
Money buys
Rage.
happiness. Though.
Fair enough.
But the Xbox One, though, I took that home. Zach took the PlayStation 1 home, and I took the Xbox One home to try out. I was playing for a couple hours, and the only thing I noticed was it didn't have rumble, and it felt a little bit more plasticky. But honestly, other than that, it's a solid controller. I still have mine at home to continue playing with, but I have not had no issues. Solid.
Good.
I'm
Yeah.
happy at least
I'm glad
those
we-
ones came out good.
I think just because Xbox is more simple, you can't really mess it up so bad. And then PlayStation, you have like 5 different gimmicks going on at the same time.
Oh yeah.
You can mess that up pretty easily. And then they just chose to just do none of the gimmicks. Not vibration
Oh.
properly, adapter triggers, touchpad,
Controllers. tiny.
motion, nothing.
Yeah, it's very lightweight too. So as soon as we knew that, it was like, oh, something's bad.
Yep.
It probably has like this tiny little motor that makes it zzz sound.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
probably. It just even holding it as like, yeah, this thing feels just like a, what is it? It's like a dummy model or whatever.
Like their
Oh
prototype.
yeah, it kind of does feel like something you would like if someone stole the empty shell of one and then it was just there. I mean, it functions somewhat. What it is,
It
is
worked. Just
it played games. It doesn't have drift. That's a positive. But
we stand behind quality,
yeah.
Yeah.
and we could get
At
away
least
with
fully working.
Right.
You can play your games.
we can get away with no adaptive triggers. Whoop-de-doo. But that rumble, like, come on.
I think the only controller that we have that has a major flaw is the PS3 with not having the motion controls.
Yeah.
Which
probably.
the only reason that's a major flaw is because some of those games need that. But we do have first party ones on hand for those that we can regularly get in. Whereas PS5, we don't even have people trading those in working condition.
No.
Yeah, most of them, like most of those newer controllers, almost every time any of us test them out, it's got some type of drift.
I had like 3 the past week, luckily on PS4 that worked, which I'm very happy
That's
about.
right, yeah.
And like rare that happens, but they actually had, like 3 back to back. Yeah, I don't think there's been one between. Let's hope for keep going this
Yeah.
streak.
This week. Jeez.
Do we want to get into the Xbox thing that I mentioned before the podcast?
I mean,
it's an Xbox handheld, but
supposedly
it's
coming out. Yeah.
not really an Xbox handheld. It's another Steam machine type thing. It's interesting. It's made to support Game Pass and stuff like that.
That's all it is.
but-
It's a mobile Game Pass.
Which I get. Xbox is not dabbling in the handheld market, nor do I think they're going to plan on doing it. So this is a good way of them feeding their fan base.
The
something for that.
last time that they tried to was with the Logitech G Cloud, and I don't, even though I think that thing was priced pretty well, it didn't work out. But that's also too cloud streaming. That's not locally
this is
playing the games.
Actually, hardware at least. And like it has Xbox's seal of approval.
Which is hard to get.
Yeah, they don't approve many things. They have like the Razer third-party controllers, and like PowerA makes their controllers. And other than that, they don't really dabble much in third-party stuff or stuff in general.
They don't do that, and they don't do. I'm thinking of limited run. They didn't do limited run stuff for a long time.
So very recently, where
They almost have a higher quality, not standard, but higher quality. Not quality. That's not the right word.
for physical releases, they require you to be able to sell at least like
Thousands.
10,000 units or something like that. I'll have
Something.
an exact number
Somewhere.
somewhere. Link in the description, guys. But yeah, they have a bit of a higher standard of making sure. I think their words for it were that their fans of their brand, like of Xbox, would be able to get a game and not feel like it's limited, which I get. More recently, they finally dropped that with at least certain companies like Limited Run, because that's their whole gimmick. Not that Limited Run makes very good games that they publish anymore.
That's a different topic. That's a good one, though.
Yeah,
I want that.
I was about to say, yeah, that would be
we can go into that.
You want to do that instead of the next one? I would
Yeah.
rather do that because I have a lot of talks about that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll talk about Limited Run and
In those types of
and
companies.
this type of company, Super Rare. There's that dog one. I can't remember what it is.
Special Reserve.
Special Reserve.
Oh yeah, because didn't we just? I
We got a
think we
couple of
got
those
what
in.
was it? I think it was this week we got Ape
Ape
Out.
Yeah.
And then that sold.
That
I think,
Steelbook is cool.
Yes, that was actually a very cool little thing.
I do own a couple myself of the Limited Run games, and I get why they exist. They're a company to make games that wouldn't normally get a physical release for people that like to physically collect stuff.
Physical re-release.
Do you mean that as in the sense of like because it's already came out? Like they're not doing it along with the release date of the game, yes.
Let me just, if you don't mind, I'm going to backtrack as the store owner
Mm-hmm.
because I think you just got hired on when we stopped carrying Limited Run or right around there.
You were still getting some packages,
That's
but I
because
feel like you didn't order any
Right.
when I started
So-
working.
I know this is going to be a very controversial topic, so I apologize, but the retail side of Limited Run, like us stores and other stores, I don't know how they do it, but I couldn't justify spending a lot of money and not seeing it for almost a year sometimes. I would order something and not get it for a while.
Yes, and you're also spending like pretty much the same price that you're selling it for, nearly.
Let's say I got 10% off. Whoop-de-doo, I still had to pay for shipping and stuff.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is like you're getting like
Just to carry their name
Not much.
and keep it in the store. I can give the viewers a very fun fact. Brendan might not know about this, but we used to carry it a lot, and then I stopped carrying it because, I'll just say, the Amazon deal, that really sealed the Limited Run fate in my store.
that and their
Their physical store.
physical store.
It
That's
was
what
too
made
far.
me like.
Wait, they had a physical store.
They have
They
physical
have a
stores
physical store.
that
No way.
magically.
Has old inventory.
Yes, they apparently have with Limited Run. They normally print exactly the amount that are ordered. That's what their thing is. They only print to what pre-orders are. So if you don't order it then, you can't get it later. That was their whole thing
Yeah.
for a long, long time. And that worked out in the beginning because a lot of the games that they earlier
They
printed.
were good.
And also, there just weren't many people buying them.
Yeah, they were
so
small.
They ended up being very limited.
Yep.
However, then Amazon would get a bunch in stock.
They
that
had their
you-
own Amazon store.
Well, yeah, but they would like automatically have like 1,000, whatever.
Right.
They
Oh,
dedicated.
yeah, I see what you're saying. They dedicated it to the Amazon store. Got it.
And then everyone that pre-ordered
Mhm.
would get it, and then eventually, turns out they opened their own physical store, and they had a bunch in back stock.
Yes, we'll put pictures here.
Which, how would you have back stock
Of old games.
of
old
games
stuff, yeah.
like Blasphemous was one of the first one.
Yep.
They had stuff like Blasphemous, which was a crazy price game. I don't know what it is now.
I think we have it for about $110.
Yes,
right now.
opened, right?
Right.
I think that one's
Yes.
not sealed.
And so they'd have stuff like that would just apparently they had extra of. How do you have extra of stuff you pre-ordered only and also gave to your Amazon that sold out? It was not there available for them to sell.
I'm going to kind of defend them. So let's say you pre-order 1,000 copies. You're going to keep a couple for returns and stuff like that. Or damaged in transit, so I need to replace Brendan's copy.
Fair enough,
But not what they have in their back stock.
Opening up, I think, multiple.
What, stores? So they only have one store right
Oh, they
now.
only have one store. Okay. That's a little bit more likely, but it's a little weird.
It's disheartening.
Yeah, especially when you like we don't really rely on the market value of them to go up because we just charge the regular
retail.
price of the ones that we previously owned. Once we get new ones in, we had to pay the market value, like percentage of the market value, and sell them at market value. But for all the ones that we used to carry and still have, they're still at the value that the MSRP. Like, we're not selling them at a premium.
So this is a good story then. So the doubles that I had, because at one point we were hoping that they would pick up and we'd sell a lot and we'd have 2 copies and 1 on reserve. I took all those doubles because I was so mad at the company and I took them to New Jersey, and I traded them all in at a store. And that store was happy because they didn't have a partnership. I'm not going to name the store, but it's a very prominent store in New Jersey, and they were ecstatic, and I got a lot of money.
Good.
Not what we paid for it, but I got rid of it and got stuff that we needed.
Yes, I was going to say, we got a bunch of stuff that we actually needed and then sold, like...
Faster than I would have ever sold a single limited run game.
Mm-hmm. And that, yeah, I was more than happy to get all that stuff. That was a long time ago. That was still at small store, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But that was cool. We still lost out on all the money that we spent on it, but at least we sold something.
It was a learning lesson, and I don't regret it. We tried something, at the time. That's kind of why we don't do new games.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the reason why we don't do new games.
Yeah,
Because you could just get it on Amazon, Walmart, well, not limited run, but any of those new type of games, but why?
And Walmart constantly talk about not carrying them, and then they continue to carry them every time they said that. So we'll see eventually. I feel like most people feel this way, I think, that physical games are only going to be around for the next generation, maybe. And then after that, we'll see. I'm feeling that that's going to be it, is like the next generation. Like PS6 is like, buy the additional disc drive extra. Like, it does not come with it by default. And then that's their way of weaning out people. And then we'll just be purely retro anyway, so there won't be new games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Physical. At least that's what I think is going to happen. We'll see.
So, we just talked about limited run, but we do, one company I will give props to, and I haven't ordered from them in a while, and you brought it up, the Super Rare.
I love
Super Rare does do that 1,000 quantity limited, but I think part of that 1,000, whatever their number is, 1,000 quantity limited, they'll keep some for damages and stuff like that. Where there's actually a number on the package.
Yes, I have one game from them because it was a legit game that I thought was interesting. I got Sally Face, like a indie horror 2D game.
Did we already sell that?
No, that's a different.
But then we just get it in.
We still have it. Actually, that's the deluxe edition.
That's
I don't
what
have
we were
that.
talking about last week. Actually, real quick, I did want to add. So I don't know if you saw that game Tetris Forever, meant to be like an interactive documentary about the history of Tetris. So as you go through, you'll get like little bits of like clips and passages and stuff about the history of Tetris and the multiple different versions. So then like the main mode in the game is playing through, an unofficial Game Boy, NES, Genesis, arcade version, where every time there's like certain blocks that when you hit them, sends you to a different version, getting to play like the original version of Tetris. So one day I found out Limited Run was about to do a PS5 and Switch release. Mm-hmm. So, of course, pre-orders went on sale right as I had to come into work at 12 o'clock.
Oh, gosh. Was you late one day and you didn't tell me?
No. This is actually I think it was a Tuesday, so it was one of my days.
I was going to say, because I haven't heard about this until just now.
Right, I know. So, as thankfully the store opens and it's quiet. So I only have, I think, one customer looking at cards, so I go ahead and I place the pre-order. Mm-hmm. So I think I pre-ordered the Switch version.
For your first limited run game?
Limited run game.
Hold on. You could have bought it off of Amazon, probably.
I'm sure you could have, but you wanted to guarantee that you could have it, too.
Exactly.
Well, congratulations.
I think it's coming in, like, July or something.
You'll be lucky.
I bought 2 limited run games the entire time that I've, from limited run. I think I have a couple that are extra.
Did you do Lollipop?
No, yes. Okay, 3.
Oh,
3
yeah,
games.
that's right.
So
that's the only one I would have gotten.
Yes, same here.
I have River City Girls, because that game looked cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Scott Pilgrim vs. World, because of the history of that game I thought was interesting. Having a game that's been delisted forever, finally getting a physical release. It's like, let me get that. And then the other one I got was, Lollipop Chainsaw more recently. Mm-hmm. And, they're all solid games. And they do occasionally have solid games like Tetris and stuff. But a lot of their games are indie games that no one's ever heard of, that no one really is interested in. And then the prices go
way up.
Way down.
Down?
Most of them go down.
Most of them go down on them.
Because there's no limited quantity.
Right.
There's no limited quantity. And then there's no interest in the game to keep it.
There's been a couple that we've gotten relatively recently, like Gargoyles
I was
Remastered.
just gonna
that
say
was
That's
that.
the only one that we got from someone in North Carolina that I know, that I knew it was going to be a good game, so let's get a bunch of those. We're not trying to talk bad about them. It's just,
I mean, I'm gonna talk bad about them.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Super Rare are much more. I think they do a better job of it. They have a limited quantity. If they're gonna be a limited company, stick to it.
so I don't remember that one game that we got. What was it, Tamashi or whatever, from Limited Rare?
Limited rare.
Yeah, Limited Rare Games.
That's another one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that did Poop Slinger.
Oh my gosh.
Poop
Yeah,
Slinger,
how much
the
is that
infamously
now?
most
Expensive.
expensive
We'll get it one day.
PS4 game.
Yeah, because isn't that basically like the rarest
It was
PS4 game? If I'm not
limited to like
mistaken?
100 pre-orders or something like that, and then only like 40 people ordered it, and then they actually got it, and then people were like, "Wait, this is real?"
This is an actual thing.
Mhm.
But yes.
Because you can pretty much, if you're an indie developer, just like if you can pay for it, you can make your game like on physical release
If you can pay for it.
if you can pay for it.
But yeah, that's our little. I don't think you guys got anything else on talking garbage, not garbage, but garbage on limited run, those types of companies.
No, I'm glad they're releasing stuff physically, but man, you could do it a better way. Just
Like actually limited. Let's just say that your name is limited.
if you're or be like Devolver Digital or something like that, or not Devolver Digital. Is that their name? Of it?
Yeah, no, I love Devolver Digital.
Because yes, they make indie companies that make good games and give them physical releases and just publish games in general. But like, if you're gonna not be limited, just make it regular. Don't act like you're limited. It's silly.
Or try and be like, okay, well, since we're opening a physical location, there's going to be only X amount for the location, and then do X amount of online pre-orders, something like that.
They never will.
I know they never.
They've
will 'cause it
never
just-
gone by that way of doing it. They've never been like super rare. They've always had a like
Open.
pre-order till it's till it's no longer pre-orderable.
And let me take your money now. That was the next issue.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, they take your money
Right then and there.
and,
Yep,
then
and then-
ship it out.
Months,
Year later.
months
They don't
later.
manufacture it until after.
It's essentially an idea. Let's make sure we have enough money, and then we'll print it. I could keep going on and on about this company.
I mean, if time was not a
An
No,
option.
no,
thing.
not an option. You mean not a limit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
not a
whatever.
limited.
I mean, it's limited.
Not limited. Dun dun dun.
No, they're good to get the games in. I'll just end with that. Like, it's cool to see them. We'll never order them again.
We'll still take them in
Yeah, we
if
got a big one
they're.
the other day.
But like
Yeah,
half
exactly.
the time we're paying like extra than what we would have, and then half the time we're paying a small percentage of what we would have because it's gone down in price.
Yep. And you know what? Real quick on that note, the person that traded that stuff in, new customer to the store.
Yeah, the recent trade of that.
Yes, the last week or whatever it was. Openly said other stores are not taking those things.
Yeah,
Which is
I don't
weird,
necessarily. Well,
It's expensive. That's why.
yeah,
I guess, and yeah, but I don't know. As long as that is the market value of it, I get it. Like paying
Hey,
for it.
they left happy. They're gonna come back and trade in more stuff to us. So that's all I care about.
Oh, fair enough.
Yep.
Also, I stand by the you should always make an offer thing that we have, even if we can't offer a lot.
I'm the best at that. I'm gonna offer you something terrible, but here it is. And not on game. Sorry. Let me preface. Like normally it's a broken like the 360s
I mean,
last
someone
night.
brings in a Madden,
yeah.
Madden 08, and I can offer very little on it because I have a lot of copies of Madden 08. And people don't really understand when it comes to that.
Well, I guess any sports title. And you know what?
But always make an offer is what I'm saying. Even if you have to tell someone, hey, I can't offer much, but I can offer this.
Yep.
I think that's better than just being like, I just won't take it. Do you want to go into the main thing?
So yeah. So this episode is gonna just
This
this
segment onward till the end. It's gonna be last stuff. It is a horror show, so again, parental warning, just like we did last time.
Yep.
We're gonna talk about some stuff that's not for kids.
It is. It's another one of those things like what we were talking about. I think even with like Creep of it's not for the
Faint of heart.
faint of heart, but not so much the scary stuff. More so just the
The topics it
The
gets
topics,
into. Mainly
yes.
the show, I would say, is a little bit more gets into that, and that's the part we're mainly going to be talking about. We did play the game to have the knowledge of the show, but
so let's just give a quick recap of what we thought of the game, and then just go into the show and do like our compare and contrast.
You want to start first?
I will, gladly start. So I've owned the store for 6 years, and I've never cared to even try to touch this game. And I could honestly say I would recommend it at this point. At least the ones we play remastered.
Oh, we played the remake. Part 1 is what it's called.
Yes,
we played the remake. Yep.
Since Part 2 came out, they remade.
They completely in Part 2's engine, so
Yep.
it feels like Part 2. I imagine it's gonna feel when I get around to that next.
Yeah.
I can say yes because I started that
There
already
you
because
go,
I'm slow.
Fair enough.
But as a store owner, I can highly recommend it. I don't know, like remaster wise, if story wise, it's still the same.
I think it's the
same
exact
game.
So
same.
you're losing out on graphics, but like you said at the beginning, it was so slow, and I was so scared I was not going to be able to beat it. But I did. I can recommend it. It's got a great story. There's issues I have, but that's just because I'm nitpicking and I'm just being a crybaby about it. We'll talk about it in the show part when you and I talk.
I know.
So,
remember talking a little bit to you about
I would say, this is going to be, like I told you, if it's a game that can sit on my shelf, which will probably end up sitting back behind these guys, it's one that I don't want to get rid of, and I won't probably ever play it again. But I'm not going to get rid of it because it is a good game, and I would recommend. So probably like an 8 out of 10 for me.
So yeah, no, I also really enjoyed this this time I played it. Both times I played it, I cried during that intro as a kid, and it was so much rougher this time around.
It was real this time.
Oh yeah,
it felt legit. Yeah, it was rough. And just the emotions that brings, which spoilers, right, for the game and for the show. His daughter dies right in the beginning, and it's just like it's heart wrenching, especially just like in the game. It's so much worse. The just way she dies in Joel's arms is just horrendous, and you don't really get a time to like it absorbs for a second, and then
and then you just cut right to 20 years later.
20 years later, very well done game. A lot of emotions. Very well done story. I liked how the characters progressed throughout the whole thing, because one thing is I did not like Joel at all to start. And I was afraid, like, oh man, like I know this is like a father-daughter thing eventually, but he is like, he's miserable. And Ellie I liked, but like she's just kind of there. Like I didn't in the beginning. And then the characters grow on you as the time goes on. Joel becomes more open to Ellie after like Ellie saves his life and stuff. It's very interesting. I love the game. 9 out of 10 or something like that. Like it was really solid. Highly recommend anyone. If you have a PS5, it is worth the upgrade. If you can get it for like $40 or less.
Max, that's what
I would say that's where it's worth. Don't go to Walmart, buy it for $70 or whatever. It's not really worth it.
Isn't that what we paid?
Yeah, but that's because I wanted it right away. I'm not recommending that to anyone.
We had to fast play it.
Yes, I wanted it then so I could try it for this. But yeah, if you can pay $40 or less for that, great experience. Highly recommend. Best way to play it. And definitely, if you can't do that, do PS4. For some reason you can't do that, do PS3.
You got options.
You got 3 generations of the PlayStation to try this game out.
So what are your thoughts, Brendan?
So my thoughts, this game, I mean, I absolutely love it. I loved it the first time I played it. So actually, the very first time I tried it out was on my PS4, and I used back when PS Now was a thing with their game streaming service. So I had a free trial. I used that, and I started playing through The Last of Us. So it was like the PS3 version being compressed and streamed to the PS4. So honestly, I didn't care. It looked good enough to me. It played well. But, I mean, yeah, like Owen was saying, that opening scene, no matter how many times I see it, if you were to show it to me right now, I would start tearing up. I'd probably almost start crying because it gets you every single time. You know it's coming, and no matter how much you brace yourself, it gets you every time. But yeah, the story's just fantastic, and getting to watch the relationship between Joel and Ellie, two people that just very much they need somebody. Yeah,
she's cargo for most of it.
Smuggler and cargo, eventually basically becoming father and daughter. It's just such a like it. I don't know.
Story.
It's a great story. It's almost kind of like heartwarming getting to see them both, heal from the trauma that they suffered in their past of all the loss. Lots of heart-wrenching moments throughout the whole story. I mean, losing Tess in the very, early on. It's just there's a lot of loss throughout the game.
There's a lot of
it's
loss.
Just very
you get left
tough.
behind. You get Riley's whole story there. You get
Yes.
The whole thing is dealing with loss. And then, like Joel says, in both the series and the game, like it's about finding something else to survive for.
Yes,
As
exactly.
They find each other to survive for.
It is, yeah, it's a fantastic game. I easily give it a 9 out of 10. And again, playing, if you cannot, like they were saying, if you can't get the PS5 version, the remaster is probably one of the best ways to play it, especially because
Or PC,
I think
right?
It is on
only
PC.
part 1 is
Part
on
one.
PC.
Yes, but
two
part
comes
1,
soon.
yeah.
But yeah, part 1, if you can get it on PC, that it's also, I did hear
On
at
Steam
launch, on Steam sale. I did hear at launch, though, it was a fairly unoptimized mess like a lot of PC releases are now. But that's,
If you're on PC, you probably know how to fix that.
that exactly. So, but yes, I would at some point like to go through and do an actual full playthrough of the PS3 version and then do a full playthrough of part 1.
I'm good on never touching the PS3 version ever again. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just a worse version of remastering.
Yeah, but no, Last of Us overall was just, I mean, the game is just great. It's definitely one that you should at least give a shot maybe once.
I would say get past the quarantine zone initial level, and if you don't like it after that,
I would say
you're okay.
farther. Get out of the quarantine zone. Get past
No,
the
I'm saying like
security guard.
get past that part. Get past
where he has
when
to make,
Tess dies.
that's
Yes.
way off. That's
No,
That's like an
about
hour or two in.
Yeah.
I'm saying even just get out where the first security guard.
I
has
would
to
say
go.
if you don't like it by then, you're not gonna like it because that's kind of
Yes,
by
'cause
Tess's point is the gameplay and the story is starting to really pick up at that point.
Yes. Yep. But again,
It
it's
is, but I totally also get not like it.
yeah, exactly. But that's what makes the show. That's what's nice about having the show is if you've never played the game, you also have the show.
It's
You know,
pretty
which
much the same story for the most part.
there are
Yeah.
There are differences.
there are differences.
Some I
which-
like, some I don't.
But I think that's what makes it much
different.
more interesting than them just doing a basically shot-for-shot remake.
We'll go full into the show. So yeah, it starts off pretty similar, though they add a bunch of extra stuff to your daughter's Sarah's backstory, of like you get a whole like day with her rather than like waking up and having to like.
Oh,
Of
yes,
her,
yes.
Yeah, of her going and getting the watch
because they wanted
fixed
to.
and-
Well, they really wanted to show where this disease, infection, fungus came
Yes,
They
I
opened
That's
up
what that was.
Dude, I
Yes.
love that.
Because they didn't really explain the game. I mean, you could read the notes and you would find out some stuff about like the grain and stuff like that. But it's left up to you to find that stuff. So I think in the show they purposely like
They
Yeah,
tell
tell
it.
you
Here
right off
you
the bat.
go.
And they show you the first scene of here, old lady,
19
eat the biscuit
yes.
or whatever.
Well, they had the 1960s thing where they show that
Yes, it
little
opens with
interview,
the talk show.
Yep.
and
Yep.
then after that they go into her eating the biscuit, and then later she turns into an infected,
Yep.
a runner.
Oh
at that
yeah,
point.
and I mean, like, so overall, what I would say for the show compared to the game, I like them equally. I don't think I could necessarily.
I would like the game way more, but I also like the show a lot.
So the show makes it so that anyone, like you said, can watch it and get
Yeah,
the
yeah,
understanding.
yes,
of it.
exactly.
The game gives a lot more detail of what we want,
Yes,
and if
yeah.
you follow the notes, and you get the whole story.
I
You
was
get everyone's life behind it.
I think it maybe depends a little bit on which one you were introduced to first, but I like Joel and Ellie and a lot of the other characters, for the most part, the other characters, slightly better in the game. And I think that on the show they did a good job, but the originals are the originals, and you can't really
yes,
touch that.
Exactly.
Like that's kind of how it is with most things, whether it's book or whatever's first is those are the characters, and then any changes are slightly different.
And they did a decent job overall.
I think that the casting was really good. We'll get more into it because I kind of want to go episode by episode.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Joel and Ellie, great casting. I liked both of them a lot.
I-
I would say Joel is, at least in the initially part, comes off a lot less mean. He was so much more mean in the game. in terms of like
cold-hearted.
cold-hearted.
I hate you
Yeah.
guys.
He has no emotion towards Ellie or Tess, really. You're just so much more cut off from everyone.
Yeah.
And then you don't get that until later when you get a little bit more open. Which I think he opens up quicker in the game. After when he starts to open up.
Maybe.
Mainly,
I
I'm
think
thinking of later when the gun defending thing happened. I
Oh,
think in
yes,
the game
yes.
he
Nope, I think-
immediately trusts Ellie after that, and then it starts to open up a lot faster.
Yeah.
But before that, he's a lot more cut off.
And I could say this too, and I don't know if you guys agree. They did take very good key moments from the game.
Yeah. Yes,
They
exactly.
line for line had many
Yes.
moments from
Oh,
the
yeah.
game, and I was like, man, like this is really interesting how they took like exact moments or just nods to the game. Like
Yeah.
I think it's in the first episode when first or second episode when Ellie's walking through the water in the hotel, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I can't
Yeah.
swim." Because in the game, you constantly have the having to do gameplay around. Ellie can't swim, so you have to
Get the pallets.
Get the pallets,
Get the
bring it over to
pallets,
her,
yep.
and
The
then
ladder, make her
uh,
cross.
Ladders,
And
yeah.
they also had that later in like the last episode where, oh, drop the ladder down for me, and then which I thought was just interesting how they called back to those game mechanics in two different moments in the show.
But then in the show, they're going in there and like, he jumps into the water. It's this deep, smart ass.
Yeah,
or something like
It's
that.
like up to his
Oh,
waist.
okay.
Or
It's not even up to his waist. I think it's like up to his knees.
yes,
like
I think
that.
maybe up to Ellie's waist, maybe, but it's not deep water, which makes it even funnier.
Yes.
But yeah, the first episode, I think they did Sarah's death really well. It's a little. I was just less sad. I think it was less brutal. Is all.
I still almost cried.
I think I did tear up, but I was maybe also just because I
knew
because
it
I already knew it was
You
coming
knew
from
it was
the.
coming. There was
but I
less
knew it was-
emotions.
It was I feel like Joel was trying to think it's not real, not really happening in the show versus in the game. He kind of immediately knew she's dead.
Yeah.
Because he kind of tries to pick her up on the show and tries to like we
Wake
need to
her
keep
up,
going.
save her.
Yes, versus in the game he's much more like mourning
He
her
knows,
immediately.
yeah.
So maybe that just made me more sad. I don't know, but I don't know. I liked the casting of also Tommy. I thought he was really well done in the show.
Again, like you said, I think the casting was done very, very well. They took their time with it, and all the characters look, for the most part, look and feel like the characters in the game.
Yes, I'll get to later the two that I noted I didn't like their version as much, but
Those episodes blur together. I'm trying to
think of
when
what's,
episode one ends
one-
right now. Maybe just go through the chronological order, I guess.
Yeah.
they had Tess. She was good in the series.
Oh, you
I'm
know
trying
what
to
I
remember,
didn't like?
what did you not like?
Robert's death.
Robert.
Yeah,
Right at the
fact
beginning, in
that
the
don't
game,
get
you
to
do
see
all
him.
this stuff
You
to go
chase
kill
him down
Robert.
and everything. And in
This
the
one
show,
just
they
dies immediately,
Yes,
essentially.
so Robert is the
Stole their
Stole
car
their
battery
battery,
so
so
they could
two
leave.
different things.
Yes.
In the game they had it where they stole their guns.
Yep.
And then sold the guns off.
So yes, what happened in the game is you have Robert, who's just a guy that is also a smuggler,
Gang
presumably
leader or
gang
something.
leader,
Yeah.
smuggler, and I also get why they shortened the show because it's a long plot line. But he's a smuggler. He sold stuff to them, but didn't give it to them for like weapons or whatever. Is they were going to leave.
They're ready to leave.
And in the show, he sells them a battery because they were going to leave by a car to go get Tommy.
So with Tommy in the game, him and Joel split apart forever
They
ago.
hated each other,
But
apparently.
in the show, they're closer and they actually communicate with each other because in the game
They
don't show Joel going to that guy that is able to talk with the other towers as were in the show.
Yep.
That's a thing.
That's what it was.
Tommy is no longer communicating with them or communicating with Joel. So then Joel's like, "Oh shoot,
Something
I gotta
happened.
move out."
Yes, but they just want to leave, I think, because of how FEDRA, the United States government / whatever FEDRA really is just like a dictatorship that runs their area, and they want out of there in the game. In the show, they want to go see Tommy. And, they go to get revenge on Robert, and in the game, it's a whole
It's a whole chase sequence.
It's a whole thing where you go find him, get him, and then finally kill him, and then Marlene shows up, the leader of the Fireflies. And same thing happens in the show, so you meet Marlene either way. They just went about it different ways. I think they just didn't want that really long sequence.
Long. Now that I think about it.
And they wanted to cut faster to the action.
Right.
Which I understand. So I wasn't like huge anti them doing that, because also Robert's like the least interesting villain out of the villains you come
100%.
across.
Yeah. I will say this though, and this is just random. I didn't like that they were all impressed that they killed a clicker or licker or whatever.
So
that
I think they made the zombies less prevalent but more brutal in the show.
Well, they were great though.
I will say the only slight thing I had, and they resolved it by the last episode, was Joel didn't feel nearly as strong as he was in the game. Like he kind of felt like he struggled a lot more with people, which I was good. They're trying to go for a little bit more realistic than a game where you can kill like 50 people and not ever get hurt.
It's not a video game.
Superman.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm glad they did that, but at the same time, like I wish he was shown off to be a bit more of a badass, essentially.
I mean, when he's in the hospital there in the final episode,
we'll get there. I wanted to talk through chronological. I want to go through chronological, so I don't want to get there too quick. But then we get to Bill and Frank's episode.
Nope, hold on. We haven't killed Tess. Or Tess hasn't died yet.
Oh, yeah, we had to kill Tess.
So in the show, they did a decent job of what happened to her. She gets infected.
They made Ellie get bit a second time, because Ellie's, for viewers that haven't seen this.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Ellie
they didn't do that in the
is
game,
yes, they did not do that. Ellie is immune to the virus, and that's why the Fireflies give her to Joel so that they can transport him
to a lab.
To not a lab. They want to bring him to Capital so that the Fireflies can take it.
Oh, that's right. They're going to Capital.
That's the initial thing that they offer, and then they'll give him the weapons or the battery, depending if you're in the show or if you're in the game. So they do that, and on the journey, Tess gets bit towards the end of it.
When they're in the museum.
And in the show, Ellie gets bit again, and it doesn't get any worse, and Tess shows off both their bites and like, hey, I'm gonna die soon. Yep. And she's not. Like, her bite is fine. Yeah, no, Tess sacrifices herself
to stop the
infected in the show.
And in the show, I feel like it's so much worse than the game, because in the game, you don't see what's going on other than you hear a couple gunshots going off.
You walk into the room immediately after, and you see Tess dead on the ground.
Okay, you don't see... Like
you hear it,
though. The big explosion.
But then you see it. But then in the show,
you will get to be shown her whole.
And one of the most disturbing things in the show is seeing, like, the little tendrils or whatever coming out of their mouths. And the worst part is seeing it with the one infected is basically like, just puts its mouth onto her and takes her over. And at the last second, as she's trying to get a flame going from her lighter, gets it, of course, in the last second, and then it just kaboom.
No, it was a good scene. It was well done. I liked her whole death in that. I think in both versions it was well done. It was just you got to actually see something that you can't do in the game as well, is show you other perspectives without making it weird, which they never do, I don't think, which is for the best. But yeah, and then Joel feels obligated to take Ellie, and he decides to go to Bill's village because they need to get supplies. In the game, they need a car battery, and everything. In the show, they just need supplies. I think they need a car too.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go there, and we in the show cut away to seeing Bill and his whole story and everything, which is really well done.
It definitely, to me, it is probably still my favorite episode, because it was so cool getting to watch Bill's perspective, like his story, starting from the day they started evacuating everybody. I like the transition of how they show, as Joel and Ellie are walking to Bill's place, seeing, oh, Ellie, you don't want to see that, And then she goes over, and it's unfortunately a, pile of people that are deceased. And you see a mother and at least the
You see a mother and baby skeleton,
yes.
Which you wouldn't really be able to tell until they transition from
Yes,
seeing
as
the
the
clothes.
cloth gets like blown up towards the camera, then it switches over and you see the mom, the baby, and a bunch of other people from that village being taken away by Fedra because, oh yeah, we're going to take you to all these quarantine, we're going to take you to the nearest quarantine zone. But psych, there's not enough room, so bye-bye.
Yeah, instead of letting them one day become infected, they would rather execute them here and there.
Even though they weren't infected to begin with.
Well, yeah, but they just do want
Yes.
more infected. That's what Joel says. Is like it's better to have dead people than more infected.
Yep.
These dead people can't get infected.
Yeah, but it was cool because then you see it kind of also cut to like a security cam feed from Bill in the base, so you just see his hair from behind.
Conspiracy theory
He's
guy.
Doomsday prepper and everything. And then getting to watch his story of how he's basically having a grand old time. Everybody's left. It's his town. He gets to do whatever he wants. Hits up the Home Depot.
Yeah, it's cool in the game. They couldn't get like licenses to all these different brands and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe it's an ad on the show, and I just liked it for some reason. But in the game, like all the shops in the mall and whatever are all like fake made up things. But in the show, they got to actually use like Home Depot. They got to have like Target and stuff like that throughout.
Well, and it's like because in the game it's just a town, and
you have like mom and pop shop. Every shop is a mom and pop shop, and
pretty much. And then in the show, it's like an actual like town, and I believe
like
the
location.
Village, I believe the location is different compared to the game, though.
In the game, it's like a city.
Yes, exactly.
He's basically
like a
taking
city
over,
block,
like where your Bill just has like fences in alleyways. In the show, it's like
an actual like
a small town.
Yes.
A very small town, at least the part that he sectioned off.
Yes, and it's cool because you see him like. He's got his own farm and crop setups. He's got the barricades set up. He's got like all the traps and everything. I think are so cool that he's got like whatever it is. I don't know if they launch off like fireworks or something.
There's the flamethrowers that he has,
yeah.
And then there's the guns with tripwires that shoot zombies in the head.
The pits.
The pits.
The pits, yeah.
Which
is how he
comes across Frank.
Yep.
So he's very distrusting of anyone that he comes across for good reason. There's a lot of bad people out there. But then, Frank, he goes over to the pit to go and investigate what's happening. There's a guy in there, and he's still alive. And then he asks him some questions.
The first one was, "Are you infected?" And the guy took too long to answer.
He's like,
"Why did you take so long?"
I don't know.
I was gonna lie.
I was thinking about lying.
That I'm not infected.
Then, he has him come up the ladder, and then he has one of the testers. He checks on Frank, and he's fine. He's a normal guy. And then he gets him out of the pit, and then he's just gonna send him away. And he's like,
tries to.
Because Frank was on his way to go to QZ, because his previous one had just fallen.
Yep.
And he wanted to find someone else. His whole group had died, so he was all alone. And then Frank requests for a meal, and so he'll be right on his way after that.
Yeah, Bill reluctantly agrees to it.
Yes, he agrees after knowing, like, he's friendly at least. He's not trying to kill him or anything. He doesn't have a weapon. And so, we get to the house. Bill makes him a meal. Kind of still very skeptical of Frank.
Big time.
Frank has his first meal in a long time that's actually like well made, and he's elated with that, and he's happy he has wine and stuff. And then Bill's like, gotta send him on his way. I think does Frank get to take a shower?
Frank, yes, he does let him take a shower, and he's like, "Oh, could I spend like 5 more minutes in here or whatever?" And Bill's like, "Sure."
Which is Nick Offerman plays Bill in this, and he's fantastic. Bill.
I love him in general in pretty much any role he plays, and I feel like, dude, of course, Mr. Ron Swanson himself, dude. I love Nick Offerman. So when I found out he got cast as Bill
Offerman.
that when he got cast as Bill, I was like, that's
Perfect
you
casting.
nailed it. And he doesn't look exactly the same, but
he's a
he's
little
got the
bit
look
older, especially later in the because it's kind of like a whole time sequence that we get to see Bill's life from the start
from
of the
2003 all the way up to 2023.
Yep. But yeah, so Bill and Frank are eating dinner. Frank then sees the piano and is like, goes over to it to try to play a song for Bill, and he tries to play a song and kind of butchers it, to be honest. And apparently this song means a lot to Bill, and it's like Bill's favorite song. It's Linda something. I can't remember the name of it right now. That's the artist.
Joel plays it in the tape recorder when they're driving.
He also plays it then, yeah. Apparently, multiple people are very big fans of this person. I think they're a real person and everything, but I just don't know him right now. But yeah, Frank's playing that for Bill, and then Bill's like, no, I don't like the way you're doing it. So then he does it himself and plays it really well. And then do they end up kissing after that?
He stands
Yeah.
up.
He stands up.
And then they kind of like...
Lock eyes.
Kind of, yeah. And then Frank leans in. I think Frank leans
Oh,
in.
no. I remember what it is. It's Bill is playing the song, and then Frank asks, is that about a girl that you used to have?
Yes.
And he says, no, it's not about a girl. Or are you thinking about a girl? And he's like, no, I'm not thinking about
And
a girl.
Frank is like, I know.
And Frank's like, I know. And then they look into each other's eyes, and then they have a kiss, and then, they form a relationship after that.
Correct.
They end up being, apparently, both
Together forever.
together, after that. But, they're actually a really good couple. But, initially, I had a sneaking suspicion that Frank was manipulating Bill, because it seemed like he was getting, everything out of this.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Bill was
That's
getting
what I
nothing.
thought.
But then it skips, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. And then
And we get to
Frank's
see them
front
arguing, and then I'm like, oh no, this is falling apart.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be just like the game.
Right.
It's just like the game, yeah. And then, no, they're just having an argument about, Frank wants to paint the houses and, make it look nice.
Make it look pretty.
Yeah.
He
It's
wants
their
to mow
village.
the
Yep, it's
lawn.
their village.
And Bill's like, resource management. We can't do this. That doesn't make sense
And then
to
Frank's
do.
going on about how, I've been talking to this nice lady.
We're
on the
gonna make
radio.
friends.
We're gonna make friends.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to it's Tess and Joel when they're younger.
Yep.
And Tess and Frank go into the house because Frank wants to show her around, and Joel's like, oh, I get it. I wouldn't want to invite people I didn't know over either.
While the gun's just sitting on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
aimed at Joel the entire time.
Yeah, Bill has his gun on
Yes,
the table,
that's
just
right.
aimed at him. Which I think Frank tells him to put away, or he takes it away for a second, and as soon as they leave, he pulls it back out. Yeah, no, and it was cool because Joel, being very paranoid throughout the thing because he had a lot of loss and has the very real reasons for being paranoid like that and knowing the world, understands Bill's being paranoid and everything and distrusting of everyone, including himself.
And he even offers to be like, hey, we can get you supplies. We can start, trading and everything. And first Bill rejects his offer. Then Joel's like, well, he's like, sooner or later, you're going to have to worry about raiders. They're going to come and hit this place. And what do you know? We cut to the next scene.
Yes,
Frank
which is
wakes
years
up.
later.
Yes,
Because initially I
yes.
thought it was a warning,
We're gonna
Joel's
come to
gonna
this.
raid him.
Joel's
I was
gonna
like,
raid him.
what? But
No,
no, then
I
it cuts
know.
to many years later, and then happens to be, and they're already they also have the agreement at that point that they're trading.
Yeah.
But anyway, skip to that, and
Hold on, you
people
missed
show
a
up.
great scene that I liked. Before that flash forward, whatever you want to call it, where they traded the seeds for the gun.
Oh,
And
Yes.
he gets so upset that you traded one of my guns for seeds.
Yes,
It was just a little one.
It
Frank
was
says it's just a
one.
small one that I traded for
strawberry
some
seeds.
Strawberry seeds. Yes, and it's
But
just
then the scene but then
cute
after they have the strawberries for the first time in forever, that's kind of like a nice little scene of them,
Enjoying the little things.
little
Exactly.
things.
Yes.
Because Frank he's a more thoughtful guy, and Bill's more of a
Protective.
but also just we only will eat and do what we need to, and there will be no frivolous things. So getting strawberries is a frivolous thing, and he enjoys it, but he would never get that without Frank.
Yes. And then you fast forward to the
The
Raiders
Raiders show up.
Yeah.
with exactly what Joel said, where I think he said they would have clippers cut through the wire in a couple seconds and then come in, and then...
Oh, but watching the traps go off, it was like an it was like a whole show.
Bill has all sorts of traps set up, which we got to see earlier in the show, where zombies walking by and then the shotgun goes off because he tripped on tripwire. But we get to see the flamethrowers.
Yep.
Oh, dude,
and the electric fence.
Oh, that scene, it was amazing. And then just watching Bill all by himself out there,
just shooting,
going for it.
Because Frank runs down the stairs because he can hear the gunfire.
The flamethrowers go off too.
I think he hears the gunfire, doesn't he?
Yes,
and that's what wakes him up.
Yes.
And he goes downstairs, grabs his gun out of the
like the cabinet.
The cabinet that he has.
Yeah.
And then goes outside, and then there's just Bill there, sniping them with a sniper rifle.
And then he eventually gets shot.
He gets shot in the gut.
And then Frank brings him back in, and Bill thinks he's gonna die. And I thought what was such a cool thing to show just how much respect Bill actually had for Frank is he's like, go ahead, contact Joel. He'll take care of you and everything.
Well, also how much respect he actually had for Joel at that point, because he's like
trusting Joel
as
his partner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's a lot.
That's a big responsibility, because he said you won't be able to do this by yourself.
You can't live here alone.
You're gonna need someone with you. And so that whole scene, and Bill says the traps will handle the rest of them, so he wasn't worried about them breaking in, and they didn't break in the rest of the way.
Nope.
But then we cut to later, and you see one of them in a wheelchair.
Frank.
Yes, but initially when I saw that scene, I was like, "Oh, Bill's in a wheelchair."
It is a little.
It's farther away enough, and then you see someone walk behind him, and then they go to close up, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, Frank's in a wheelchair. Bill's still fine." Because I thought, they were gonna make him paralyzed from the waist down after getting shot.
At first, that's what I thought when I saw it, like a couple years ago when the show
when you
first
initially
came
watched
out.
it. Yeah, I was like, that's different, but I'm fine with it. But they ended up having Frank be the one, which in the game you never get to meet Frank.
Aside from
the end, which in the game you get
to be
very little.
Play with Bill. You don't get to play Bill, but you get to play aside him.
Yes, you get have a whole thing where you meet Bill and as Joel.
And he is so much like he's basically like if Frank never. Like if they didn't have this nice happy life in the show, or like what would happen if they ended up going their separate ways, basically.
I think what happened in the game, because they still said partner, which implies to be that they were in a relationship.
One of the notes I picked up was a letter from Frank basically saying, "I'm done with all this.
Yes,
I cannot keep living life this way of we can only do what must happen." And you can hand that to Bill. Yes, and then he'll read it,
and then he cries. Because they did have a relationship. In the game, it's much more subtle. Because they don't have the time to dedicate into this whole other half.
They have a relationship to survive in the game, and that's pretty much it.
I don't know. I kind of
that
implied
was a legit relationship.
They said partner, and it was implied that they were together. But I think
he got sick of it and ran away.
Whereas Bill in the show started to be more open to things. Mm-hmm. In the game, he was much more locked down. It's like he never progressed as a person in the game. Yeah. And that caused Frank to run off to try to get a battery from a military vehicle to get his car and leave to a quarantine zone by himself.
Yep.
And then he got bit, and then he hung himself.
Yep.
And
that was it's
a sad moment. It's definitely like less impactful because you just don't know who Frank was, and you barely know Bill. You just met the guy. In the show, you get to meet him for a long time. But after Frank's paralyzed in the show, you get to have a little bit more of time with him. You're seeing that Frank's breaking down, aging more.
He has some type of disease.
Yes. He has, they even said in the thing, though, it was a cancer or something like that.
Yeah, and then he made a smart-ass comment. If they couldn't cure it 20 years ago, they're not going to do it now. Yeah. Was that MRI doctor going to come door to door?
I thought that was funny. Yeah. But yeah, so you have that, and Bill's still like keeping up the place, but he's the only one doing it, and Frank's just really dedicated to the arts at this point. But you get the moment of Frank asks or tells Bill that he's kind of done.
He wants one last day.
He wants one last day, perfect day where they could have a
great scene.
a good day, and that'll be their last day, or last day together.
That they get, one of the big things being that they actually get married.
So they got married. They got dressed up and everything.
They had a great dinner.
They had a dinner, wine, which Bill pulls out the same wine that they originally had when they first met.
Yes, yeah,
The
that was
dinner's like
nice.
the same dinner that they had. Everything's relatively as perfect as it could possibly be for what it was. And then he tells him to crush up some pills and put it in his drink, and then that's how he's going to go out.
And then Bill goes ahead and does the exact same thing.
Which Frank's kind of
Upset at first, but he's like, also like, that's also, I think he said
He said the
something
most
about
romantic thing you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill says that I don't want to live in a world
Without you.
without you. I found a purpose with you.
Yep.
Whereas I didn't have one before. I was just surviving. Now I have a reason. But which ends up translating to then Joel and Ellie show up at the house to get the supplies. Ellie finds the letter, shows Joel, and then they read it, and Bill gives the speech of, like, I found my purpose in protecting Frank.
Hold on, you got the best part of that letter.
Oh, yes. I
never liked you, Joel.
I never liked you, Joel. Which is,
Wait, I know you'd find this letter.
I know you, Joel, or someone else, I think is what the letter said. But most likely Joel. And Ellie reads it out to him and
Pauses
because Bill says
Take whatever you need.
take whatever need
to keep Tess safe.
which then
He breaks down a little bit.
he breaks down Joel. He takes the letter and walks outside with it to get away from Ellie so she doesn't have to see him break down, because before that he wasn't even allowing her to mention Tess, which is why I think she stopped on the word Tess, and we just get to see a camera of the word Tess.
And then they go ahead and
He gets
pack
rid
up.
of it. Also,
He gets rid of the letter, and then they go ahead and I think
Go in
they
the bunker.
wash up, they gather supplies, and pack up everything in the what did Jill say? I think just this piece of shit Chevy S10. I think is what he said.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, there's-
so
That's a great, but also I just loved how they got to go in the bunker and just pick all these guns. And
yeah.
Ellie wants a gun so bad at this point in the story, because she just wants to be able to defend herself and just have a gun because it's cool. But there's thousands of guns on the wall, basically. Like, there's so many guns, and he's like, no guns for you. Like, and they only take like 2 guns.
Exactly.
They could have
'cause you
taken
don't
way
wanna-
more.
You don't want to carry around too much.
You have a truck, you just throw like everything in there is what I would have done. Not everything, but like
No, you
a lot
would've
of
thrown
guns.
A lot of them in there.
And all the ammo that you could possibly hold. But yeah, they end up driving to go to
As they're driving, they make their way out towards
Kansas City. But where are they trying to go at that point?
I think they're still heading out to Tommy's.
They're still heading out of time.
So
Wyoming.
and then they yes, it's because they're headed to, I think it's Jackson County in Wyoming.
Because
and
Tommy used to be a Firefly, so he should know where the Fireflies are to find their lab.
and last he knew, they were based out somewhere near, or the radio tower that he contacted him at was somewhere out near Jackson.
It was Cody,
Oh, yeah.
Wyoming. Not Jackson. I think is just on their way.
But yeah. So as they're heading on the highway, they eventually hit a roadblock, and Joel's like, "All right, I'm gonna take this shortcut
Through the city.
Through the city." And then that's when he gets ambushed by the raiders.
I mean, they show up into the town, and then the guys there, all bloody, they drive towards him. Joel picks up speed, and Ellie's asking him to stop. They keep on going.
Yep.
Because Joel's like, it's not
You did
legit.
say- yeah, just keep driving, run the guy over.
Run the guy over. They end up shooting at the car. They get into a crash. Joel kills most of them, but then gets snuck up on. Ellie stole a gun from Bill and Frank's. Kills the guy, shoots the guy, injures him, and then Joel has to finish the job. He tells her to look away and get in the wall or whatever.
Go to the next room, and then you can hear the guy screaming like, "Mom,
Well,
Mom!"
he kills him with a knife too.
His
not
own
wasting
knife,
any
the
ammo.
guy's own knife.
Yeah, the guy offers him his knife, and then Joel takes it and then kills him with it.
That's kind of when Ellie notices Joel's ruthless.
Joel's ruthless. That's the first time you really get to see Joel kill
To
multiple
be a little
people,
bit unhinged.
and taking charge of a situation, and like in a good way. It was interesting to see, and I liked it, and I liked that Ellie got to have her part of, doing something besides just being a passenger in the journey. She got to protect Joel. In the game, it's pretty much the same thing. I don't think they changed much of that. Then they're chasing after him, all of these raiders, all these people, and there's this whole like backstory. Apparently, like these used to be a QZ that Fedra was super dictatory about. Then the people eventually revolted, and the leader is now a woman that's brother got killed by a guy, Henry, who we meet in a little bit. And so she's out for vengeance for Henry, and she will not stop at anything to get that vengeance.
Exhaust all resources, all people to find Henry.
Which, for something that, like, relatively, if they just stopped looking for Henry, the guy that killed her brother, they would be fine. Like, they have a lot of resources. They could just rebuild what they have. But she's dead set after this, and she will not stop at anything to do this.
Even ignoring the fact that in the show, at one point it is stated that Fedra managed to drive all the infected in Kansas City underground, and I think her name's Kathleen. Her henchmen show her, hey, by the way, they're
right
starting to break out. They're starting to push on the ground, and she's like, oh, she's
don't
like,
tell anyone.
Yeah, like don't tell anybody. Henry is my first priority. Yeah, Henry's my first and only priority. Like, what is Henry to you? Like, your seventh priority?
But yeah, you find out later that the underground was where all of Fedra put their people. You find that from Henry. Because Henry, we get to finally meet in person, sneaks up on Joel because they're in hiding inside of an apartment building. Henry points his gun at Joel, along with Sam, and Sam's the little boy. It's a pretty tense meeting because Joel's like, who the hell are you guys? Pointing a gun at me.
You snuck up on us.
I don't like this. And it's the first time that Joel's really been surprised, been snuck up on or anything in the show, up to this point at least. One big thing that I think me and Zack talked a little bit about before, I didn't like that Sam was as young as he was.
That's number one. Because they were the same. Well,
they were
close enough.
They're 13 and 14.
Yeah, exactly. They were very close.
They were supposed to be very close in age. They seemed like they could actually be like regular friends because of their close age range. Because of how much younger he was, it felt like almost like he was just a younger brother and everything. They also changed him to be like their relationship dynamic was different from Henry and Sam. Sam in this is deaf, so they changed that, and I was good with that change. The only sad part is in the game, I feel like you get to see their relationship's more of a Henry is controlling Sam out of fear of Sam's going to get hurt. And you don't get that as much in the show, where in the show he's much more protective of, like, not going to show him the real world and has him have the whole superhero thing that's kind of going on in the show. Versus in the game, he's like, this is the real world. You're going to die if you don't follow exactly what I said.
Exactly,
yes. Follow the rules and everything.
Much more strict in the game.
Yes. In the show, it seemed like he was, like, kind of shielding him from reality. Not, like, completely, but he was, for the most part, telling him the truth, but occasionally he would, when first Henry meets Joel, they basically say that we're also on the run. We could escape the city together.
Yeah.
And then has this whole escape plan to go through the tunnels that Fedra made all the infected go down, but apparently Henry heard that there's no longer infected down there as of 3 years ago. But he tells Sam, before confirming with Joel, that they agreed to help escape. When Joel is still hesitant on this whole plan altogether. But he kind of forces Joel's hand by promising to the little kid that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's kind of messed up because if Joel didn't agree, then he just lied to his younger brother.
Oh, yeah.
Which didn't happen. Joel agrees after that. They go down there. It's preschool is the first thing they come across, which in the game is so much better done.
I was going to say that. In the game, the sewers, or whatever you want to call it, was so much better.
Yes.
There was a great story about why they were there.
You could find different pages.
Yes,
from
the story, and then you find out
Ish.
how... Ish. I love Ish.
Yes.
And how one mistake like you said, with following the rules, they left one door open,
and
that's how they
everyone
lost
died.
the tunnels.
In the game, you come across all these letters of Ish, who's talking about how he's a loner, how he thought he could survive in the tunnels.
Nope, at sea first.
Oh, at sea first, and then he came back, and then
Yes.
he was surviving in the tunnels after that, though.
And he slowly grabbed people as they needed help.
Initially, what happens is the one letter has that he was trading with people, and he was building a relationship with these people. He was referred to as the skinny man when I found their papers later in the game. But he's building this relationship with them, and then started to trust him, invite him to come down there, and then slowly built a community. And in the show, you kind of get to see like the preschool and stuff, and like
Yeah, where they stop and rest
that's
for a
where
second.
the main thing you see in the show. In the game, you see
Everything.
everything
Their
in there.
bathrooms, their school,
Oh, yeah.
their
It was
living
a
quarters.
pretty
really
big
fascinating.
settlement,
Yep.
and it's interesting
supplies.
seeing how they were. It seemed to be a community that was working, that actually had few issues, if any.
And then it just to see how
one door left
that
open.
one door left open, it managed to get the entire community just completely wiped out.
Which is it in the game that after Joel and her leave, it says on the one side,
it
"Don't
says
enter."
on the exit, don't enter
Don't
infected
once they
inside.
leave, yeah, it says don't enter infected inside. On the other side where they initially entered, it didn't say anything. Because obviously the people left out the one door and blocked it off.
Yep.
Oh yeah, And of
But they
course,
didn't mark
that's
the
when
other
they
side
come-
ever, so.
Well, because I think they came in through the sewers. That's probably why.
And also in the game, there's a bunch of infected there. In the show, I
that
don't
was
think
great.
there's anyone down there at all.
And
It
again,
was very
it's
short. And
I
short.
was gonna say they very much just rushed over it. There were
Which I get.
yeah,
Again, there's other points that they really focused on
yes.
or expanded upon in the show.
Which that leads into the walking in the dark in that little tiny,
They go
not
towards-
a tiny alley, but whatever you want to call it, street.
They go towards on a street towards a house where they need to make their final escape to get over the river.
Yep.
And there ends up being a sniper in both
Terrible
versions
sniper.
of it.
In the
It
show,
got
a
me
terrible
quite a
sniper.
bit. But yes, so they're crossing that, trying to go towards the house, and Joel tells them to stay behind, and then they have to. He has to go forward and go behind the sniper and take him out.
Yep.
And it turns out that sniper is linked up to the other community, Carol or
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Kathleen. Yeah.
Where
Hold
he's
him right
talking
now.
to her, and she's saying, "Hold him there.
We'll be
I'll
right
be
there."
there shortly." And of course, while she's saying that, they're on their way. You can see him in the distance coming towards him. Joel grabs the sniper. They're coming towards him. They have this really cool truck that has a plow in the front that just starts
it's just
plowing
destroying
through everything,
everything.
heading straight towards where Ellie and Henry and Sam are. And Joel's trying to snipe him,
And of course, at
missing
the last
shot after
second,
shot.
well, of course, he
And then
manages to make the one
makes
shot
the
that counts,
shot.
and it goes right into the building.
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they tried to add the comedic value into it. Remember when they called Kathleen, like, why are we in the front? There's cars in the way. You have a plow. Run through them.
Yes, I thought
Yeah.
that was funny.
That's why you're in the front.
That's why you're in the front, because you have the plow. You do it.
Yes.
But yes, makes that one shot and then it runs into the house and explodes a little bit.
Explodes in the house. Then she gets out of her car, goes looking for Henry. She's saying, like, Henry, if you come out, this will be all over. We can put you on trial, which obviously you're
Oh,
guilty.
they were gonna get.
And,
they're gonna get murdered immediately.
Yes, for sure, because throughout the episode, she's shown to be killing
Just killing people off.
anyone that's not, like, immediately listening to her.
Yep.
But yeah, she tells him to get out. Henry gets up, but then they hear a sound from the building where the truck crashed, and it's a horde. And I'm talking the biggest
that
horde you get to
was-
see in the show,
it
besides
was
the
so cool.
the mound of zombies.
Well, and then of course, getting to see one of the final things come out is the bloater, and that
Yes.
thing is just. Oh, it's awesome.
Awesome. It's the only bloater you get to see in the show. But it was a good reveal out of there.
Yes.
And they all ripped through everyone. There's the little girl zombie
That was freaky.
freaky,
I was
jumping
thinking of,
around.
the movie Abigail. It reminded me of
He's-
that girl.
Honestly, it was just like Abigail. But yeah, everything's chaos. Joel's sniping anything that comes even close to Ellie.
That's all he cares about is protecting
He's
Ellie.
just protecting Ellie. He does not care about anything else. Ellie gets in the car. Little zombie girl gets in the car. Then Joel can't help her out at that point. She gets out of the car, tries to save Henry and Sam because they're being attacked by 2 zombies.
And then Kathleen catches her off guard, and then Ellie notices that, it's still coming. So she, stalls for a couple of seconds, and then the little girl zombie comes and rips Kathleen to shreds.
Kathleen, at this point, she's pointing the gun at Henry and Sam and Ellie after they just had rescued Henry and Sam. And yeah, the little girl comes up behind her. I think they all stare at her. She turns around and then jumps on her. And then they just get out of there. Joel's like, we gotta go.
Yep.
They go, get to a safe house. Everyone's kind of calmed down and everything's good. And then Ellie and Sam are going to sleep in a room together. And Sam reveals that he's been bit.
Which is different because in the game,
He hid it in the game, yeah. But in the show, he shows her after telling her what he's scared of, which he's scared of becoming a zombie and scared of is he going to be inside of them, trapped, and not be able to control anything. Ellie thinks that she's the cure, so she slices her blood, thinking that her blood's going to help, puts it on his wound. They fall asleep, or they try to stay up together that night to, wait it out, see what's going to happen. They fall asleep, presumably both of them fall asleep. Ellie wakes up, sees him on the bed.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting there. She goes to approach him, and he freaks out, starts twitching, grabbing her, trying to kill her, essentially. Go to the other room, and then Henry and Joel see what's happening. Joel tries to go shoot him, and then Henry points his gun at him, and then whips it over to Sam, and then pulling the trigger reluctantly. And then we had the whole scene of him breaking down, pointing the gun at Joel. Joel's trying to calm him down, and he points the gun at himself and shoots himself. It's a rough scene in both versions.
Yeah.
I think it was I guess just because of how shocking it was in the game.
I think it was better in the game because you didn't know realistically.
Well, they didn't know. Like, Ellie didn't know what was happening. Yeah. She just got attacked randomly.
Yep.
Versus in the show, I liked how they had her trying to cure him. But she knew a little bit more. But yeah, no, I liked both versions. It was well done. It was rough, especially, I don't know, because you get to spend a longer time period with Henry and Sam. And especially if you take your time, you get to see all these little tiny things and little games that, like, Ellie and Sam, like, play darts together. And
or
stuff
they
like
do
that.
soccer together.
They do soccer in the show and stuff. And, like, it's
bond.
They bond and they become friends, and like you're thinking, like they even say in the show in the game that they're gonna go to Wyoming with them, and like we'll keep on going, we'll make it to the next settlement. But then you get that ripped right out of your hand.
And it's like what I was saying earlier. Just every time you think things are finally gonna turning around, just the game or the show is like, simmer down. Let's kill off another character.
You're just survival horror like situations, apocalypse, whatever.
There is no such thing as being happy. Mm-hmm. That smile, you better turn that smile upside down. Frown.
Yes. But then after that, they finally get to Wyoming after a long trip there. Mm-hmm. We meet Tommy, who's...
Hold on,
do we want to do the introduction of them real quick?
No, I was going to just say, they had that stupid scene in the show where they run across a random couple just in the wilderness by themselves. Do you not remember it?
I'm trying to remember what...
It's at the start.
It was right before they see Tommy.
Yeah.
They're just a random couple.
I thought it was funny, and I think it was pre-establishing what happens later, because it was the whole... we come across this couple in the show where we see a hunter coming home to his wife, and Joel comes out and he has his wife hostage, and he's threatening him, saying that, where's the directions, because they're lost at this point.
Yep.
And they need directions to get where they're going. And then he says, I need you to point me the way, and if it's not the same way that your wife pointed, then I'm going to kill you both. Which is a tactic he uses later.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
But, yeah, so they're kind of both not really afraid of Joel, to be honest. And they're like...
And I don't care.
One funny thing that I thought was the husband to his wife is like, when asked to point the direction, he's like, did you show him? Did you tell him the truth?
I want to live.
I want to live.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I did. And and then points it, and then Ellie's like upstairs, ready to apparently attack if something goes wrong. Yeah, that scene, it wasn't necessary, but it was just a little
Not
bit of like,
necessary.
I think in the game you got more time to be like calm down between hard segments, so it was a moment to do that. But they go over to Tommy's. They're told by this couple that it's a deathly terrible place.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go there, you will die.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of these people on horseback show up and surround him. And
Oh yeah, I forgot that's how the show was done.
yes,
Yeah.
Horseback surrounding him.
They
Yeah,
all
like,
surround-
Too, it's during wintertime when they meet Tommy, as we're in the game. It's during, I think, springtime.
well, it's also completely different how Tommy lives, because in the game you have a dam that has electric power that is pretty small settlement. I would say 12 people. Like
maybe
No.
Well,
more.
because that dam is just what's helping them power the actual settlement.
what I thought was happening was that was the settlement, was the dam, and that was it.
No,
Is it-
yeah.
They never. I never thought that there was more to it other than the people that live there. But in the show, we're showing this huge settlement of like
A huge city.
like hundreds. I think they say like 300 people or
Everyone's
something.
got
like
like
that.
a job and they're working there.
Yes,
Yep.
it's communism apparently, because one funny thing is after they end up in the city, after Maria, who's Tommy's wife, finds out Joel is Joel and related to Tommy, she lets him into the city. They're walking around telling him all about how everything works. She says, yeah, how everything works. Joel calls it communism. Tommy's like, no, that's not communism. And Maria's like, it's communism. And then Tommy like has a look of like disapproval, like, what have I done? like, what is this? Why am I a communist now? And also they had it work differently where Tommy in the game had built this settlement. He's the one that founded it and started this, and people started showing up, and he's the one that started the dam. In the show, apparently, Maria and her dad or whatever started this. He showed up later. So it's kind of inversed. You can pick and choose which one's better. They're both fine. But Joel is there to pass Ellie off to Tommy.
Yep.
He wants him to take care of her because he doesn't
Trust
think
himself.
he would be a good fit to do it. In the game, you don't really get to see that as much. At least I thought that he was just passing off because he didn't want to deal with her anymore.
Well,
Whereas
it
in the
was-
show, he has this whole conversation of how he doesn't think he's fit. And he's having panic attacks in the show.
Yep.
Like, he's actually probably unfit to do this realistically. Then they're both having the conversation about it. Tommy finally agrees. In the game, Ellie runs off away. In the show, Joel kind of just decides that he wants Ellie to choose whether or not he should go or she should stay. She chooses for him to stay because she would miss him too much. Then for the final portion of it, they both leave to go to University of Colorado,
Yep.
where apparently the Fireflies were last known to be, according to Tommy. They go there, start exploring the area. Apparently this is where the Fireflies used to be, is where they were developing here, but they packed up and moved on. You get to see that it's been abandoned. They left to go somewhere. You see all of the map going to Utah, Salt Lake City. And so that's where they decide to go. But a couple raiders show up, and they get on the horse that they borrowed from Tommy. Or they're about to get on the horse that they borrowed from Tommy. And then one raider shows up and tussles with Joel. They get into a fight. Joel gets stabbed.
Well, because a bat breaks. And
Bat
the
breaks from it.
handle-
The guy swings it at Joel, breaks it on a light pole, and then has a handle.
Which is different than the game. 'Cause in
It's
the game,
different,
he just
there's a
falls
lot-
off
He
ledge.
just falls off a ledge and gets impaled, yeah.
Yes, he falls onto steel barb,
Yep.
rebarb, and it's worse than the game, I would say, because you also get to play as Joel
Wounded
and
Joel.
see his eyes like life fading from them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more intense, but both are pretty rough injuries. They're both the same spot and everything in the like gut area.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ellie takes him on the horse, rides as far as they can get away, ends up in like a small town not too far from the university. Sets up camp in a garage, finds needle thread gets back together. She has a flashback of the people she lost previously. We get to see
Yep,
her
and
friend
that's where
Riley.
Left Behind comes in.
And then Left Behind, which is in this game also Left Behind takes place, and you get to see that whole segment there. With Riley, I thought they did a slightly better job in the game, but both were good. In the show, they decided to age her up a little bit. They made Riley 17, versus in the game, she was also like 14 years old.
Oh, I thought she was the same age as Ellie in both.
No, she says she was 17 because her assignment from the assignment from Fedra she was given because that's what you get at 17, and it was to be sewage apparently.
Oh,
nice.
Gotcha.
But it's fine. It's just a slight change of age and everything. But they go to the mall and you get to see them being friends, and then Riley and Ellie both get bit, and Ellie survives. Riley does not, and that's when you find out Marlene. I mean, you kind of figured this out earlier, but she mentions in episode 1 that Marlene took Ellie as a baby, had her, brought her to Fedra to drop her off to get raised there because she wasn't thinking she could protect her. She used to know her mom, and so she has a relationship to Ellie, but hasn't been in Ellie's life. There's not much to that relationship besides that.
Just giving the backstory.
You're giving the
of Ellie
backstory.
and how she's infected.
How she's got bit, or how they know about that whole, how she's immune, and why Marlene found her, because she was at a outpost where Riley was supposed to be. So at some point, presumably, Marlene checked back on the outpost and only found Ellie there, and Riley was dead. And then it was like, oh wait, you're not infected. Weird. But yeah, she ends up fixing up Joel for the most part. Gets medicine, which we'll go to that part.
She's hunting down a deer, comes across
hunting down a deer to get food for them. And once she shoots the deer, it runs off, and
then that's when, as she's chasing down the deer, crosses paths with David and James. And the cool part is that James is actually Troy Baker, who does the voice acting and I believe part of the mocap for Joel in the game.
That's Troy Baker?
That is Troy Baker,
Are you
plays James. Oh, I know.
James? I'm just gonna
Actually.
No,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Dude,
he looks so much different.
No, he's pretty recognizable. He's got...
Yeah, I recognize it, but I think the beard doesn't help. Last of Us show... Yeah, wild.
Right?
It does not look like him. I'm used to him looking like that.
Mm-hmm. But if you listen very closely,
it sounds more like Joel.
You can hear a little bit of like Joel's voice in like as he's talking. But it was very cool to see that they brought back, because it's not just him. It's also what's her name? I just had it. So the voice,
Ashley Johnson?
Yes, who plays Ellie in the game. Mm-hmm. This is a bit of a little bit of a jump ahead, but she also plays Ellie's mom at the start of the final episode, which I thought was really cool. And you can hear Ellie's voice at the start of episode.
Yeah, no, fair
9.
enough. I couldn't have told you that either of them was that.
Yeah. Because. At least I believe with Ashley Johnson, she's also been in other Naughty Dog projects, so I think that's why I know.
Well, Troy Baker's just in everything.
He's in everything, yeah.
Anything video game related.
I mean,
you've probably heard
Indiana
him.
Jones. So.
I'm just gonna quick mention. Speaking of people that are in everything, and I cannot stop hearing Yuri Lowenthal over and over and over again in the Last of Us video game. So Spider-Man's voice actor in the Spider-Man games.
What part is he in?
He's many of the different Raiders you come across. He voices them, and every time I hear Spider-Man, just like, I'm gonna kill you.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I can hear it now.
It's just funny, like every time I hear that. But that's besides the point. But
yeah, no. When I saw him, I was like, this guy looks kind of familiar. I was like, wait, don't tell me that's Troy Baker, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And then when I looked it up, I was like, I knew it, and because you can hear just a little bit of Joel's voice. Obviously, Joel's voice is much deeper. But
yes, well, also like whenever I was playing Last of Us, all I could hear was Booker from BioShock, because Booker is also Troy Baker. Also, he's Indiana Jones. Also, he's 10,000 different things.
This.
just like Nolan North. He's just in everything.
I
But
love Nolan North so much, man.
so yeah, you get the hunting deer thing. They want to have the deer for themselves to feed their colony of people, and they offer her a trade, saying, "Well, she like, oh, what do you need? Do you need anything? We can supply you with stuff for half of, or for the deer." She offers half, if they have any medicine, and then David says to James, "Go get antibiotics, get penicillin, and then come right back here." And in the game, you have this whole like fight sequence with a bunch of infected and stuff. Thank God they just skipped over that because we don't really need that.
So also too, real quick, sorry not to jump in. They also give a lot more background on David in the show.
No,
and
he's just a
how-
completely different character, and because he's not a preacher or anything in the game.
that we know of, because
They
they don't
just-
show any of that.
No, they just made him. They did talk about him, and he's just the leader
Okay,
of
fair
Raiders.
enough.
They even say that they're all men in the game, and there are no women, and there are no children.
Oh,
In
okay.
the show, they changed that for him to, instead of being this manipulative guy
Well,
that is
he's
just
still very much
no,
manipulative.
that is just a regular guy that is just the leader of these raiders. They're just pure raiders, like they'll-
That's true.
pillage, murder, whatever. Because they do say that in the game. He's instead changed to be like a preacher. That is like has a flock and all this. Different vibes, but also I always like those. They creep me out,
Very much,
but in a
very
good
much
way.
a
Creep me out.
cult. It's very much a culty thing. And I think what's funny is he even admits to it when he's talking to Ellie at the fire that pretty much cult.
Pretty, like yeah,
Doesn't
pretty
even
culty.
try to hide it. He's like, yeah, pretty much cult.
Well, to skip a little bit ahead, because their deal goes a little bit bad. They end up getting the full deer. She still gets the medicine. He calls her out for being the people that murdered
Yes,
the
because
guy from the university, because apparently that's their group also. Which, let's just skip a little bit.
Yes.
She delivers the medicine to Joel.
She delivers the medicine.
Then
to
she
Joel.
has to leave because they start coming. They follow her tracks.
They follow her
back.
tracks, which is what David, when he gets back to the house, or not the house, the lodge, everyone's kind of seems upset with him. And he's like, "I got a deer."
Let me let go of this person. Yeah.
And then everyone's kind of like, I don't know, still angry about just them starving. And then he's like, "Oh, we'll track her down. We'll go get vengeance for your father."
Bring her
Because
to
he talks to
justice.
this little girl about how, like,
Bring justice.
we're gonna bring your dad's killer to justice. One moment that was pretty intense was in the show. This girl mourning her father's death earlier. It's like he's telling her to trust in God and all this, and then later he starts to talk to more of himself being God.
Yes, I know.
He starts to lean more and more into like he is the voice of God. It just gets more culty in that way. He's talking about how she shouldn't be angry about it. He walks over to her and backhand slaps her on the ground.
He does that because she says we need to kill, or
We should kill
both of them.
Kill both of them, and he's like, and you shouldn't do that. I was like, wow.
The silence was loud.
Yes, the amount of people that like her mom's sitting right there next to him and doesn't speak a word about how like she just seems kind of afraid of David overall. But yeah, no. So they go track Ellie, find out she's in the town nearby, and start tracking her. She has to leave on horseback. James shoots the horse, which they didn't name in the show, but in the game was called Callus.
That's right. Yeah, I should know all this. I was just playing this last night.
But so you have that whole sequence. They capture Ellie. David's talking to Ellie about how like we're both special. We're natural born leaders. You're just like me. And kind of has this like it's a weird vibe.
Well, because isn't this because this is already when he has her in the cage.
He has her in the cage, but it's a weird vibe where he's talking to her like they're like equals and like he's talking about all this stuff.
Like, getting his hand in there.
He gets his hand on the thing, the little like wiring of the cage, and then she puts her hand on the cage and he moves his hand over hers.
And she's like leading him on.
She's leading him on, and then she takes his hand, bites it, and tries to reach for his keys. And
then he's just like pulling her and bashing her head on the wall.
She breaks his finger, exactly what she does. I think she bites it too. Oh, no, she doesn't bite it at that point. But she breaks his finger. And then he calls her a lot of names.
She uses a much naughtier word.
He uses a pretty bad word in the show. Then he's like, "We're gonna chop you up and eat you," because she just found out.
She saw it.
She saw an ear on the ground. Yeah. In the game, I think you just straight up see bodies.
Oh, you just see him cutting up bodies. Yeah.
Yes. She realized that they're gonna eat her. Is what she thinks. He's telling her all these things about how no, we're not. You're special. Then he's like, "You're not special anymore. I'm gonna eat you now." Then we get to Joel's waking up now. He's gonna fight for his life because they're still investigating that town area. They go into the basement. He's not there. He ends up lurking in the shadows and stabs him from behind. And then there's the scene that I was talking about earlier, where he got two guys both tied up. And he's beating up the one, basically torturing him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And tells him to point on the map.
Hold on. Before he does that, he stabs him.
He stabs him in the leg.
So
But
he
then
gets the marking, or the blood is the pen, essentially.
Yes. And then he gives him the knife, and then has him point, knife in his mouth. And then has him point on the map. And he says, "If you don't point to the same area your friend does, I will kill you both." And then he marks on the map. And then stabs him, like, in the neck or whatever, and kills him. And then he goes over his friend, and then he's like, "I'm not going to tell you anything.
Your friend already did.
And he's like, "Your friend already told me. I believe him." And then he kills him, too.
And that's what I love is he's like, "Oh, yeah, don't worry. I believe him." And then just...
And he kills him, yeah. So then we get back to Ellie real quick. She's now being taken out of the cage to be cut up and then eaten. And she ends up biting David during that. And as she's about to get killed, she says, "I'm infected." And she's, "I'm infected. And they pull up her arm, see the bite mark. And then David's like, "That doesn't, look right," or whatever. Like, he's like suspicious of it. James is like, "No, that's, she's infected. I don't know." She has the cleaver right next to her head, grabs that, kills James.
Oh, yeah.
And then David's like freaking out because he just got bit. She runs over. In the game, it's a little bit more of a sequence. In the show, it cuts, or the diner room is right next to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So she just gets over there, and she's hiding from David, and she's trying to escape him. She has like a poker from like the stove. It's like a wood like log or whatever. She throws that at him, starts a fire in the building, and the whole building's burning down as he's still trying to kill her. But then he starts talking about how she's special and he's not going to hurt her. And then
to lure her out.
Well, I think he says that I'm going to be your father. I'm going to be I'm going to teach you whatever. It's all weird and like kind of creepy and off-putting, and it's uncomfortable. And then they get into a fight sequence. She has her axe, gets him in the side, and then he takes it, throws it off away. She runs towards it, trips, and he pins her down. And I won't go into too much detail, but he pins her down, and she's struggling to try to reach the axe as he's like choking her. But he's choking her, and she's trying to reach for that. She ends up grabbing it, and then gets him, and then just keeps on going at him.
It was such an awesome scene.
Especially in the game, it's like kind of cathartic relief. And it's also why she does it is because it's kind of cathartic. They're just like, is this guy... We didn't get into too much detail here, but he's a horrendous person. Yeah. He's a really awful guy. He's, I would say, the worst villain of at least the first game. I haven't gotten
probably the most evil person in the entire game.
Yes, like straight up evil. But she runs out of the building, and Joel touches her from behind, and she freaks out at him, saying, "Get away from me!" Yeah, and
in
then
the building.
No, they're out of the building at that point.
They're out.
At least in the show.
In
yes,
the game,
I think the game
he grabs her in the building.
Right after that scene. But in the show, grabs her. She freaks out, says, "Don't touch me, get off of me." And then they she cries or whatever, and then they like have a moment. He's like
father-daughter moment.
yeah, and
Well,
it comforts her, but she's
But then
still,
he's like saying, "Oh, come here, baby girl," and that for me, like that, I think was the moment where they finally like just
Father-daughter.
we're
Well,
father-daughter now.
yes, because they're both protecting each other too. Like it's neither of them could survive without the other one.
Nope.
It's not just which I think Joel says later. It's not just him doing it. She's a tough girl too. Like she's strong-willed, and I don't know. It's just interesting to see that she becomes more and more independent at the same time, while also they both rely on each other.
Yep.
Joel trusts her more with everything. But then after that, they go and are making their way to Salt Lake City. In the game, it's this whole like she can't swim, so they end up like almost drowning. And there's the giraffe scene, which is really interesting, where you get to see the giraffe walking through the city. It's like this nice little heartwarming moment. You can tell that Joel and her are like closer, and that they're like, at least Ellie is not looking forward to the end of this journey.
Yeah.
And anyhow, you get to the giraffe. It's this little magical moment of just like wonder in the midst of the apocalypse. You get to the drowning scene, or in the show, the government throws like, not the government.
As they're walking through the
as
city,
they're walking through the city,
Fireflies,
Fireflies-
flashbang.
It's a flashbang. It makes them all disoriented. Joel gets knocked in the back of the head in both versions. Wakes up in a hospital, the hospital, Salt Lake City Hospital. Gets told all about what's happening. It's Marlene,
Yep.
the leader of the Fireflies. She tells him,
Sacrifices must be made, essentially.
well, she says, I can't believe you made it this far. You know,
Like, how'd you do
How
it?
do you do it? He said it was all her. If I
Yep.
didn't have her, I wouldn't have even made it. She's a tough girl or whatever. And then he's like, okay, what's happening? She's
me
like,
see her.
she's in the surgery room right now. And he's like, the surgery room, and then she explains that cordyceps is in her brain, and the only way to make a cure, because apparently the cordyceps isn't affecting her, because we saw earlier this episode that the mom got bit while she was giving birth, and that caused Ellie to have like a immunity to it because she was born.
She had a cordyceps growing in her since birth.
Yes, but like a weakened version of it, I guess, because of the way it was
Transmitted to her.
Which I like how in that scene, Ellie's mom lies to Marlene saying, I was bit after
Yeah.
I gave birth, when it was just before, because she's trying to convince Marlene to keep Ellie alive and not to kill her newborn baby. Which she would kill her if she ended up being infected, but luckily she wasn't. You know, cordyceps is in her brain, so they have to operate and they have to extract her brain to be able to find out a cure. At least that's what they think. I have a hard time believing that they know as a fact that they can do it.
Yeah.
And that they couldn't try other things first before jumping to let's extract her whole brain to do this. Or I think in the game, Joel says that it's layered around her entire brain, so they'd have to take like at least like the whole layer off of her.
Something like that. But all we know is
he
that
says
the
it grows-
cordyceps in the brain.
Yes. So Joel's not too happy about that. Shows that he's not too happy about that. Marlene has him escorted by 2 Firefly guards. I thought in the game this was really interesting, but you're walking down the hallway, and then Joel sees his gun on the side, and then
Well, he sees his backpack. That's
he sees
what
his
it
backpack,
is.
but
Oh,
his,
no, I
his
think
rifle's
it's Ellie's backpack.
His rifle's there.
Or
though.
no, yeah, it's his backpack. Whoops, yeah.
And he just quick grabs it. Like it's a quick little sequence. He knocks him out. Then where is she? And then he's like, she's at the top floor. That's where the operating room is. And then you have to go through all that to be able to get back to her. In the show, he sees a sign that says pediatric operations or
Or
whatever.
go this way or whatever. way
Yes, it's like
pointing.
4 or 6 or whatever, and it's pointing a direction. And he sees that real quick, and then they're walking down the stairs. He stops for a moment. The gun's like poking his back, and he switches around real quick, grabs it, and then
Just
kills
starts going
both
on a
of them.
rampage. It's
Yes, and-
awesome.
the one moment, like I said way earlier, is you're waiting. At least I was waiting for a moment for Joel to just like be like he is in the game, just like let loose. That my one camera's out. I'm only a wide shot now. But
Ooh.
he's going all the way up to the top floor. Goes into the operating room. Surgeon's there. And he ends up executing him. And the other people surrender. He takes Ellie, goes down the elevator to the bottom floor to leave in a car and go home to Tommy's. Then Marlene's down there, and then they have a whole altercation of, I raised this girl since she was born. You just met her, even though they've been together for basically a year at this point.
Essentially, yep.
And Joel's like, he questions it because Marlene tries to convince him that she would want to be used to save everyone. Like, she wouldn't care about dying. When I don't know. That's up to her to decide, really. But they just decide without her. Then we get to...
Well, hold on. You forgot that he shoots Marlene.
Yes.
Yes, I was going to say, he shoots Marlene, but...
They cut to them being in the car
as
Joel's explaining.
And then we get to see when Joel is explaining what happened, he lies to Ellie about... Everything. And then we see him kill Marlene.
Yep.
And then after he shoots Marlene and then hears that she's still alive... he goes over to her, and she's like, "You can, you don't have to kill me. You don't have to kill me. You can still
just come right
and then
after her."
You said, yeah. He goes over to her, points the gun at her, and says, "You'd come after her. You try to find her, and then kills her." So then, basically, it's over. Ellie asks when they make it to Tommy's. Ellie asks, "Hey, is this, is the whole story true?" And he says, "Yes, it is all true.
She's like, "Do you
swear that what I told you is true about the Fireflies. They are, there's no cure. There's no way of making a cure. Because that's what he told her, is that there's no way of making a cure. There's a bunch of people like her. She's not the only one. When in reality, she is probably the only one. And they could have maybe made a cure. We have no idea. But that's really where it ends. And part 2, I'm sure, leaves off right there. I'm sure, I know it's time skips, but we don't know much.
Yeah, so I mean, after that incredible journey,
it's a great show.
Yeah.
Pretty much just as good as the game. I just think the game did certain things better. I would say the one thing that the show has that is Bill and Frank's episode is so much better than Bill and Frank in the game.
Oh, 1,000%.
Oh my gosh,
That was the favorite episode, no matter what.
Yes, just you need to expand upon that. What's cool.
You can kind of put yourself in those shoes, going, "Wow, someone did that," or they did what they had to do to survive, or whatever it might be.
They showed more or just before pre-pandemic, and I think that was cool. We got to see a little bit more of that history. Certain things were done less good, but overall, I think without the game's knowledge, I think they did a good job of just
if
you having everything you needed. And not anything else.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Expanding on parts that, as a person that played the game, can enjoy.
Yes, exactly. So, even if you're somebody that's never played the game, you don't have to. The show pretty much will cover everything.
8 out of 10 show, probably.
Agreed.
Pretty much, yeah. I would agree.
All across the board, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
All right. But yeah, I think that's really all we have to talk about. But
are you sure there's not more?
There's always more.
We'll talk about. We'll talk about more in the next couple later from now about the second season, which will come out April 6th.
13 something.
Yeah.
Well,
one of those dates.
Each week or right after.
So it's going to be a while.
And then we have to play the second game, but we'll get back to you on that and go into more of that. But great game, great show. Check them out.
That's it.
That's it.
I think that's it.
All right.
All right. See you guys next
Bye.
time. Bye.